But when I made a decision to go into film, Malay film, I had to give up the Disney job. They actually said to me, you have to choose. Unfortunately, within the entertainment industry, internationally and locally, everywhere, there are certain paths to success. You have to sort of give up a bit on your ethics. And I don't like compromising on ethics.
Things aren't always so perfect and so pretty. What's the most uncomfortable truth about working in this business that people don't necessarily talk about?
Gosh, I'll have to ask my management if I'm allowed to reveal all today. There's a lot of content written from men that are strong roles, and there's not a lot of strong roles for women who are often portrayed as victims or we're doing something wrong to someone else. And I think that's something that maybe would do good to change for Malaysian content.
In this episode of Live Confessions, I have yet another amazing guest joining me. Someone you'll definitely recognize from TV and many other places because she has done so much in her life. I'm talking about Puan Sarimah Ibrahim. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Terry. Just call me Sarimah. It's so awkward when you say the full thing. I'm just like, Good morning. Welcome to the breakfast show. I have no idea why I'm leaning in. I still have that bad habit from radio days. It's like, don't lean in, Sarimah. The mic will pick it up. So I was always
used to work
loud.
together. I can't believe it.
I know.
So many years ago, we were on Red FM together.
I think it was 2010 and 11.
Right. It was
I was only 20.
only felt like yesterday, right?
Yeah.
Actress, TV host. The list of things that you do is so long that I had to narrow it down to just say actress and TV host
Like
at
a
the top.
summary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Now that you say it, now I feel a little bit like an overachiever.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Let's start with the fact that, you were the first female host for the Disney Channel Asia in 1998.
Yeah.
And tell us a bit about the challenges and memorable experiences that you encountered during that pioneering role.
Gosh, you're taking me back now. 1998, the first female Disney Channel presenter for Asia. That was so scary because you had this whole Disney brand behind, and they did massive amounts of auditions. And I remember thinking, I'm never going to get this job. I'm so not suited. I'm too rugged. I do karate. I'm I've got a piercing in my belly at the time. And I thought, no way, man. They're never going to look at me.
Yeah.
And I just walked in and I just thought, there's no way, Terry, they're going to take me. So I remember getting that, going into the audition and just being myself. And they asked me to interact with children. So the benefit was I have 3 younger little brothers.
Right.
So when I went into the audition, I just was playing with these children, with the bricks and just singing and being me.
Yeah.
And I think probably that was what got it in that sense. And the challenges were probably trying to make sure that my career aligned with the Disney branding. So I, at that time, also started getting into Malay films, with Scope Productions and whatnot. And they were asking me to shoot films like, Gerak Khas and whatnot. And then at the same time, Disney wanted me to have this wholesome image and, be the Mini Mickey sort of vibe and, milk cows on a farm with children. So I was
Your
struggling.
musketeerness.
Yeah, I was struggling between, being a Disney person and being this undercover cop running in the jungle with wigs on. So it was a bit odd. So the challenges were the biggest challenge was trying to decide at what point do I choose between the two. So if I had stayed down the Disney path, I probably would have stayed in only the English-speaking entertainment industry of Malaysia. And it would have taken me probably to... in some way, I ended up doing The Biggest Loser Asia for the Hallmark Channel and whatnot. But I would have stayed fully in the English.
Right.
So I might have become more of the actors studio type of group, perhaps the KL Pack group. I don't know where the trajectory was if I had stayed there. But when I made a decision to go into film, Malay film,
Right.
I had to give up the Disney job.
Yeah.
They actually said to me, you have to choose.
They gave you the
Yeah. I remember
Right.
I was crying and I was like,
Oh.
actually, I've never talked about this. So this is pretty unusual. This is a good good chat to have. They said to me, you know, you can't go down the Disney Channel path. If you're gonna play these various characters on screen which are not in line with the Disney values, so to speak, like a criminal, a villain, you know what I mean? So I was like, you know, but inherently I've always been an actress first, actually, and I accidentally became a host, but the talent of acting is very useful as a host, as you can see. I mean, for many actors, you know, you need that confidence and whatnot in front of the camera. So I made a decision and I went down the Bahasa Melayu path because I could. Thankfully, I'm able to speak fluent Malay, and that's due to my schooling and my parents. But once I made that choice, Terry, the trajectory sustained itself organically down the path of Malay dramas, Malay films, Malay hosting of live shows and whatnot. That was the challenge. The difficulty was like, where do I go? So there, because in our industry, there were two split groups in 98 to 2000. There was the English speaking theater group, and then there was the Malay mainstream mass market. So I was like, I don't know which. So I had to just choose.
Right. It felt very defined.
It was
these-
very defined.
What made you choose make that choice then?
Because I hadn't done the second path. So I'd done Disney and I'd had a great time there, and I'd been part of this international like legacy. And I thought, wow, this is amazing, but I think I can do more than this. And then I felt like I wasn't able to use my bahasa. So I was like, as a Malaysian, I think maybe I owe it to myself to give it a shot and go this direction. So I went that direction to see what would happen. And then, like I said, it organically sustained itself till now.
Right. And all this has happened. So much has happened.
Itulah.
Right. In
Yeah.
fact, you did mention that one of the things that you're looking forward to doing is also producing.
Yeah, so that's probably the next. So it's all coming full circle. So we're here today at Astro, which is where the Disney Channel first started, and it was one of the first channels that existed on Astro when it first launched, I believe. And so now I'm here again and to 2025 doing this interview with you, and I'm hoping to get into co-producing content and you know, sustaining the next path of my career, and also for other people out there who are creatives who want and need a platform
Right.
where they are supported emotionally, physically, and creatively.
It shows
So
your
that's where I want to
versatility.
go.
Because you've done so many things and done so many aspects of the entertainment industry that it even includes the fact that earlier on you transitioned to radio as well, right? You co-hosted the breakfast shows on Mix FM and also on Red FM, where I was
Yeah,
one of
I
your colleagues. That
know.
was so long ago,
You
like
used
we
to see
mentioned.
me at my best, early mornings running into the studio. Yeah, those were the days. Well, it's never easy, right? And doing breakfast shows, I mean, hats off, because you got to go to sleep by 9 and be in there at like 5. I was never good at that. I mean, I was good at the execution of the job,
Yeah.
but I wasn't enjoying the process
time,
of
the
the logistics, so to speak. But also, radio happened at a time in my life, Terry, where I had been in films, dramas, I'd hosted live shows, I'd done so much on screen that I felt like I needed a break from the physicality, the pressures of physicality as a performer, and I wanted my voice and my personality to lead,
Right,
so that my brain will be more important than my appearance.
right. And
Yeah.
was that transition, you know, in order to focus more on your voice and to communicate verbally, how was that?
It was funny, and I started eating more because I was like, nobody can see me. And then that bubble burst, because everyone's like, I think we're going to start doing live on air too. And I was like, no, I thought I escaped the clutches of appearance pressure.
Right.
I thought I could come in to shoot in like, to record in like tracksuit and t-shirt, but no. They were like, we're going to show you on air too. I was like,
Right.
I may as well
Exactly.
go back on TV then, good.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, I think it did. I mean, I can't speak for the listeners out there. I can't speak for other people. All I can say is the day that I left radio, left Mix FM, you know, I remember crying my eyes out and having to make that decision. It wasn't easy. And a lot of people coming up to me till today, which is 11 years later
Ah,
saying, you know, we still remember this joke and that joke and what you did to Rod and what you did to Luca. And I'm like, it's been 10 years.
yeah. How does that feel to have people come up to you even now,
Uh,
remembering, how much you impacted their lives?
in various forms of mediums that I've been in, people have been impacted, and that's an honor. I think at the end of the day, to have been able to be part of people's journey,
Mm,
what it's done, I think, is, yeah, there's pressure.
mm,
Pressure to make sure that I'm always that person for everyone else.
mm,
But in the last 10 years, what I've learned is to also be there for myself too.
mm,
Because if I'm not there for me, then I can't be there for everyone else.
mm.
You know, if I'm not taking care of my health, then I won't be able to perform for everyone else and give them that joy.
Did
So
someone have to point this out to you, or is it something that you realize?
did someone have to? No, I'm pretty self-aware, too self-aware, I
Yeah.
think, that I'm aware that when I've reached a limitation or a point where, okay, like I need to step back now,
Right.
you know, or take a break
Mm.
or something. I'm pretty good at seeing that. The problem is, I think no one else can see it.
Oh.
That's probably the issue, Terry. Everyone else just sees this person who's like full of energy and bubbly. And I think that is something that all creatives struggle with. The perception that others have of you and the reality of your internal state. And, you know, I studied psych and I was the patron for MIASA for a while. I was very fortunate and honored to be able to work with people in the mental health industry here as well. And continue that studying too. I studied compassionate therapy as well. So I had to learn to be compassionate to me.
Right.
It sounds very self-indulgent and sort of like a bit circular in the conversations, but I don't mean it to be. What I mean is, it really does mean if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of everyone else.
Do you think it helped that because you studied psychology, that it makes you more able to deal and process this type of, the life that you've been living, and be able to take care of yourself on top of knowing that self-awareness that you have?
I think it makes it both difficult and easy. It's difficult because you know what other people are not aware of, and then you watch people suffer, and then you see, sounds really awful, but the potential of everyone else, including your own potential. So you constantly setting the bar and the standards high for yourself and everyone else, because you know what's holding people back
Right.
and yourself.
Right.
But then not everybody, which moves on to what I've learned recently. The best statement I heard from Mel Robbins, she's a well-known author, motivational coach. She said, let them, meaning let people be who they are and let them show you who they are without you trying to change who they are. Because you cannot deny who someone is in the same way that you can't deny who you really are. Eventually it surfaces.
Right.
So I think it helps, but it's also difficult because you can walk in and be like, but this could be better and that could be better. But then how long are you going to be like that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And that can be in anything you do. It can be as an announcer, as an actor, as a host, as a producer. You're constantly going for the next take, the next take, the next best. You've got to know when to just go, okay.
And you can do that now.
Let it be, let them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned acting being a big part of what you do now. You focus on that, like
Yeah.
you've been doing
Yeah.
it for a really long time,
Yeah.
right? And you're focusing even more on it now, it would seem, over
Yeah.
the last few years, right? Portraying a human rights lawyer in the Astro premiere series Riot is just one example of you showcasing your acting
That was
range.
cool, but my hair was way too big for that. I have no idea what happened to my hair in that role. I look at it and I'm like, whoa, my hair is bigger than my personality.
Which is saying a lot.
But it was a lovely role to come into, to start back in on an Astro original. And then things kind of took off from there with all the Malay dramas. I probably take it a bit more seriously now.
Yeah.
The profession of acting. Whereas before it was only play. Now it's like, now that I've studied acting overseas and I'm aware that there's actually like a method to the performance and
Tell us more about
playing.
that. The acting you went back
Did.
to studying
I did.
acting.
It was fun. It was fun to walk around the streets in another country and nobody know who I was and like walk around the streets. Did I just say that? What was I doing? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like walk to class with a
Yeah.
backpack and notepads and pens and learn from teachers and coaches like Jerry Grenell who've trained Oscar Isaac, who's trained Heath Ledger. I've trained with him, and he's from the Bow Street Academy in Dublin, and to train with Mel Churcher, who's trained Natalie Portman and whatnot, and learn from them a deeper skill set so that I can raise my performance.
You've worn so many hats: TV host, radio announcer, actress, singer, and more. Let's be honest when it comes to women being in the industry, right? Like, women are often expected to do it all without complaint. Did you ever feel the pressure to prove yourself more?
Prove myself more, yes. Not because of my gender. I think probably because of my cultural heritage. Cik, wah, guna perkataan besar tu. But being mixed wasn't always celebrated and it wasn't seen always as an advantage, which is contrary to a lot of popular belief. But being mixed in certain aspects of entertainment is an advantage, but being mixed in certain aspects is a disadvantage. Because, for example, in the acting, in hosting, it was great because you look Pan-Asian, you can be in any country. But in acting, if you want to be in local dramas, etc., and you want to portray a character that's like, you know, staying in a rural environment or lives a certain type of lifestyle, being mixed is not necessarily a flex. Because then they're like, yeah, but why would we take you? So unfortunately, then you get stereotyped and like typecast into certain roles where, you know, you're either glamorous or you're the villain or you're the cheating or cheater, which is a bit frustrating because it's like, but that's not true. I was born in Ireland. I was raised in Subang Jaya, Shah Alam, and then I went to Sekolah Kebangsaan, and then I was in international school. So why am I the villain or like the super like rich businesswoman? Why can't I just be the who I was in USJ? Like, this doesn't make sense to me, right?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? But the typecasting can happen.
Right. How did you overcome that? Was it already happening at that point? Did you feel it was happening?
I think there was no way to fight it. So what I did was I embraced it and I did the best of what I was given. You know, like my first role, like for example, in Putri Impian 2, Amy Mastura at the time was like a massive star, and I joined the cast late. And I had this character called Lisa, who is like this cheating, like crazy TV producer. So I was like 21 at the time or 20. And I was like, why? Do I look like a cheating, crazy TV producer? Oh, well, anyway, you know, I just come out of Disney Channel. So there you go. Like, how does that? Okay, fine.
What's
So
the answer that you give yourself when you ask that
so
question?
it's like,
right?
okay.
Yeah.
And I did, and people loved it, which was quite disturbing, but great. But then from there, I ended up doing lots of different types of roles. So I think, you know, you just got to give everything a chance, Terry, everyone. You know, just, you know, when it's scary, just go for it and then see what happens. Because if you don't just go for it, that was that's what I told myself. Whatever a typecasting there is, and genderism and sexism and whatnot happening in the industry, it's like that everywhere. Malaysia, Hollywood, wherever. You just go for it. But one thing that I've always maintained is my ethics as a performer. And when other people don't have ethics for themselves, I always stay with mine.
Right. Is that the guiding light?
That is my guiding light, but it can make the journey very difficult because unfortunately within the entertainment industry, internationally and locally, everywhere, there are certain paths to success and there are certain, what's the word I'm looking for? Like when you not compensate, but when you have to sort of give up a bit on your ethics or compromise. Thank you. And I don't like compromising on ethics. And I don't like compromising on quality.
Right.
And I don't like people compromising themselves for it. So I'm a little bit, I've always been like a social activist, I think, in that sense, which I've just realized right now while we're talking. So maybe I
Right
should do
here.
that all the time. Yeah. So, and I think I'm going to carry that forward into
Yeah.
producing, hopefully.
That sounds like a
Yeah.
great way to live, actually, to be
Not
able.
really.
Oh no.
No, because it's a great way to live if you are surrounded in an environment where everybody is on the same path.
Mm,
But if everyone doesn't want the same path, then it's quite complicated. So then you might end up compromising.
right.
So the biggest challenge for any performer or new performer out there, I'd say, is trying to stay grounded in your own ethics and making sure you don't compromise your values.
Mm,
You know, in terms of like, okay, for example, sucking up, bode, buying off, you know, pretending, faking it.
mm,
You know the term "fake it till you make it."
mm.
I think that was a big issue, and it was developed. So I'm not going to blame boomers. I'm not going to blame Gen X. I'm like stuck between everybody at this point, you know. But I think we did an awful lot of faking it till we make it, and it compromised all of our health
Mm,
as a society, and
and it's still ongoing now.
and it's caused a lot of mental health issues, specifically for creatives.
Right.
You know, this hustle mentality
Right.
also is related to the fake it till you make it. Don't show your weakness, don't show you're tired. And I think that's been a cause for a lot of issues, and
Right.
you know, that's what brought me into mental health, being an activist for mental health.
We definitely want to get into more on the mental health aspect of not only the industry, of just being an individual as well.
Yeah.
But speaking more on the entertainment industry, you know, we know that the Malaysian entertainment industry loves its glitz and glamour,
Yeah.
but beyond the scenes,
Which industry doesn't?
exactly, right? But behind the scenes, things aren't always so perfect and so pretty. What's the most uncomfortable truth about working in this business that people don't necessarily talk about?
Gosh, I'll have to ask my management if I'm allowed to reveal all today.
There might be more than one, but maybe one that comes to mind now. Your opinion might change later on, in fact, but at this point, when you think about it.
You know, at the end of the day, it's a not trying to sound like all like woo, but we get to work. We have our sight, we have our sound, we have our touch, tastes. We're fortunate to be alive right now
Mm,
and healthy and have a good meal and have a bed to sleep in. And I always tell myself before I talk about something that's difficult to remember that first.
mhm.
Otherwise, our problems seem very insignificant compared to most of the world.
Right.
So if we're talking about challenges,
It's interesting. It's almost like you're saying, for those of us who are lucky enough to be in a position that is comfortable,
that we
need
can
to
even
first-
talk about the challenges,
right, to recognize our privilege first.
we don't have to worry about like whether we're going to be alive in the next hour.
Mm,
It seems trivial, but okay, you know what I'm saying. You know where I'm going at with this,
Yeah.
right? In the sense that putting aside the fact that thank God we're all here and alive and able to do this, this job and be alive. The challenges within the industry, if you're asking for that specifically behind the scenes,
right.
are just, I would say, the compromising of real self. Like, in order to please and perform, at the given times for radio shows, live performances, shoots, whatever it be for a creative, whether you're a cameraman, a sound man, an actor, an actress, a producer, the challenges of the time that's given do not allow for true human feelings.
Oh,
What I mean is, if you're having a bad day, or somebody's sick, or you have a loved one who's not well,
right.
or you're not feeling well, when you're on that stage, or you're rolling that camera, or you're in the producer's chair, you got to put that aside.
Yeah.
When you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
Like, you get what I mean. You
Yeah.
can't have the liberty to be a human being in this job often.
Yeah.
You've got to be the human performer, not the human being.
Right. Which is
The
ironic.
being is not allowed often. So, whereas for other jobs, they can be the job and the human being.
Yeah.
What I mean is, if I had a desk job and I was sick, I could be sick and blow my nose while I'm typing at my job. But if you're live on air, you cannot blow your nose even. If you're acting in a scene, you can't stop and blow your nose. So the human being aspect is quite often put aside for the performing aspect.
Right. That's such a good point. because it's almost ironic because our job requires us to show our personality, how
Yes.
human we are.
Or as an actor to
Yeah.
live truthfully within the character we're playing.
Right.
However, it's as if that character is not allowed to be organic and sneeze or cough or suddenly cry because you have the restraints
Right.
of the medium or the camera or the script
Right.
or the time.
Right. So how do we?
So how do you live truthfully, A, as yourself, or B, as the character? That is the biggest challenge.
What is the answer?
The answer is,
Yeah.
I mean, when I was overseas for a while there last year, I learned to combine the skill with the truth. Very strange place, limbo to be.
Yeah.
So you got to find it in yourself to be able to, like, excuse me, or excuse me, achoo, oh my goodness, I just sneezed live in front of everyone. Or if you're in a character,
Right.
character sneezes, you go, and you continue in the script. So it's about, but that's so superficial at the moment. I'm just talking about sneezing.
Yeah.
We're talking about if you have a family member that's not well, and or etc. etc. So without trying to sound trivial and complain about a job that we're all very lucky to have, there are those challenges, and that does give rise to repression and suppression and health issues.
Speaking of mental health, right? What unique
Yeah.
mental health challenges do you think people in Malaysia's creative industry face, especially those constantly in the public eye? You've touched on a little bit of it already, but share
Right.
more. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know, like, we've looked overseas. I mean, from the Britney Spears of the bashing of cars to the shaving of the head to people here being found on the side of the road, you know, not knowing who they are. I mean, obviously, let's be honest. Everyone's got a mental health issue. Everybody actually has a little bit of a mental health issue, just like everybody's got a little bit of a physical health issue. Like you have a bit of a headache today or a migraine, so you might be mentally not as strong today as you might be in the next hour.
Right.
It's normal to not be healthy all the time.
Right.
The problem is we don't seem to be okay with admitting that we're mentally or emotionally not feeling our best. So we try to use coping mechanisms to cover it. If we were sick, we'd take a painkiller. We'd go to a doctor. We'd get a check or an x-ray. But when we're mentally not well, unfortunately, as humans, we go to the usual coping mechanisms, entertainment and addictions, etc., etc.
Right.
happen. So I think the biggest challenges for us as Malaysians is probably to, as Malaysian creatives, is to be more compassionate to ourselves
Right.
and be like, you know, it's okay, and take a break and possibly be more honest with ourselves and other people around us.
Again, that
no
fake it
matter
till
what
you
the
make it
cost
thing, right?
is.
Don't do the fake it. till
Yeah,
you
the
make
fake it till you make it breaks you. It actually should be called fake it till you break,
it. Yeah.
because it's not fake it till you make. It's actually fake it till you break.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. So,
You've long championed.
gosh, I sound like an old person here talking like.
You don't sound old. You sound wise. You sound like a person
I
who's
don't
trying
know.
to make a difference,
No, a lot
right?
of people might argue with that. They might say I'm being pedantic, and but I'm just saying and giving it what it is, from
Yeah.
the perspective that I've been in.
In fact, you've long championed mental wellness. How can media, what do you think about when it comes to media figures like yourself, right? How can you use your platform more effectively to destigmatize therapy and mental health care?
Yeah. And that's what I've worked with people and NGOs that do champion it. They are I'm just like the loudspeaker. They are the voice. Be it working with Miasa or right now with the NGO Empathy. These
Right.
are the people I work with to get the message out. But it's not enough to have a message, Terry. And everybody can talk about mental health, which we do. Kesihatan mental, hashtag mental health, blah blah blah.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's the actionable movements after that. Like, what are the results of talking about it? Because you can talk and talk and talk and talk, and it becomes circular, or it becomes indulgent, or it becomes toxic, in the sense that if we're talking about it all on social media and sharing like our problems, like, who's listening? And then the feedback from netizens,
Right.
because you don't know who's behind the keyboard, etc. So I like to work with associations that actually have a number to call, an email to ask for help,
Right.
licensed counselors, therapists who are actually there to take action.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you know you're making a difference, because when you work with with these bodies that
Yes.
actually work with statistics
Yes.
and they can measure the changes that are
Correct.
being made.
And in fact, I'm actually doing a presentation on mental health, something that I do that I don't really talk about a lot online or in the limelight, but I'm doing a presentation on mental health to a corporate next week. And that's something that I do generally.
Right.
But I just don't highlight it. It's something that it gives me a lot of satisfaction from a different perspective. And I go in and I talk to the youth, I talk to women, I talk to professionals, and I actually give talks on, workplace stress, workplace psychology of, the workplace or schools or youth or for women. That's something I really enjoy doing. And I like characters that allow me to also challenge those themes and topics too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's across the platforms, and not only are you championing it on social media and going to places where you can speak about it, but also in the roles that you take on.
Yeah, it's educational, I think. I try to be educational in what I do because we've only got a little bit of time on this planet
Yeah.
and we never know when it's up, right? So I would like for my daughter to at least be able to know that like her mommy contributed more than just like what I look like, how I made people entertained. I'd like her to learn,
Right.
and I'd like to make sure that I leave Malaysia in a safer place for her,
Right.
so that as a woman, as whatever she wants to be, she feels supported.
Right. Do you think actually as a mom, do you think the industry still punishes women for prioritizing motherhood sometimes when it comes to choosing that option, right? When a woman decides it's time to be a mom.
It's both. For those creatives who haven't become a mom, there's the pressure to why are you not a mom? And then for those who've become a mom, they obviously need to take the 9 months plus the 6 months out to get themselves ready and back. And then they're kind of left behind without any support. And when they come back, there's a lot of physical pressures, like what you look like, or are you now not able to be a performer, actress, host because you're a mom? So there is that, there's still a stigma, there's still that sort of prejudice. There is, but worldwide it still
It's an
exists.
issue.
Let's not kid ourselves. Not just Malaysia, it's like everywhere,
Yeah.
you know?
And knowing that it is something that is still prevalent,
Yeah.
right? Did becoming a mother make you feel like you had to put parts of your identity on hold at any point, like because there's this new life in your life?
Yeah, I did. And that's why I stopped for 4 years. I didn't really do much. I stopped radio so that I could focus on being a wife and a mom. But I knew when Sophia turned 4.5 that I was like, I need to get back to doing this. And that's why last year I decided to go full gung ho with the hosting live shows. I did the TikTok awards and I did a few appearances, and I came back slowly. I did AJL hosting and then I did 2 dramas and whatnot because it's just who I am. And so I gave myself sort of like a timeline, a little bit. I said within the next 5 years, I'll come back if people are welcoming. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's really a timeline or if it's just like a goal that I had. Yeah.
How do you feel about the progress that you've made since returning to what you love?
It's not easy because I'm going back older and I'm going back where there's potentially ageism that exists anywhere worldwide and in the industry. There's a lot of content written from men that are strong roles, and there's not a lot of strong roles for women. We're often portrayed as victims or we're doing something wrong to someone else. And I think that's something that maybe would do good to change for Malaysian content. The only thing is it's a cycle. It's sort of like a vicious circle where people say, well, that's what sells, so we'll repeat it so that it continues. But I'm like, they used to say that about everything in history until they changed it, when women couldn't vote. Well, yeah, but whatever. But so if we don't change and you don't become a change maker, then at what point do you know that other things will sell?
Right. Somebody's got to put some pressure on it.
You've got to just take the risk, just like I did in 998 and take the risk and go for the audition.
Yeah.
I'm constantly trying to take new risks.
Yeah.
Because I always say, if you don't try, you will not know. And not knowing is worse than trying and failing.
Do you feel like the landscape has changed since?
Yeah, I mean, my goodness, look at like social media. I don't No, I do understand. No, I mean, I don't understand how people can be so fast with their thumbs. No, I mean, it's just instantaneous.
Yeah.
But it's instantaneous gratification and it's instantaneous um how would I say, it's criticism,
Mm.
it's instantaneous praise,
Mm.
and anything too fast in life is not good. It's
Mm.
just like love, you can't fall in love too fast.
Right.
Not to say that you can't, but anything that comes too easily is usually not that sustainable.
Right.
So we kind of say, here we go with that generation old school, but delayed gratification usually sustains longevity.
Mm.
Okay, let's put it out there. So if you wait to get something you really like
Mm.
and work really hard for it,
Mm.
I mean, even in mice and in science, it's been studied, it is more sustainable only because you remember how hard it was to get it.
Right.
So fame, money,
Mm.
attention, anything you work really hard to get,
Mm.
I say hard, I didn't say till it breaks you, yeah,
Yeah.
will give you the motivation to do more of.
Right. Right.
And obviously, if you're just given it like that, you don't understand the process to sustain it.
Mm.
So the thing with criticism and on online social media and the way the world works right now,
Mm.
it's so fast to get an essay written up for you by AI.
Right.
It's so fast to get somebody telling you they don't like you. And it's so fast to have somebody say they stan you, they love you, whatnot.
Right.
All of these things can change so fast.
Yeah. And do you feel like it's because people now don't appreciate, you mentioned the process actually. Many people look towards the end goal of things without thinking of being able to enjoy the process of getting there
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
They just want to have that ultimate ending of
Yeah.
that joy. They want that happy ending
That's right.
without enjoying the
Yeah.
journey of
So
getting
there's
there.
no more delayed gratification.
Mm.
Therefore, there's no process. Therefore, there's no patience. And therefore, there's no, the worst part is there's no connection and appreciation to what you're doing.
Mm.
Even for me, I'm just like, sometimes I find myself being like heading towards the direction of being addicted to praise or addicted to approval. So it's like, if I do something and quickly scroll, do people like it? And I'm like, oh my God, Sarimah, no, you never knew if anybody liked you between 98 and 2011 and you did okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why are you doing this to yourself right now? Why are we doing this to ourselves?
Yeah.
There is success without knowing there is approval.
Mm.
This cancel culture or, I don't think it really exists, cancel.
Right.
I know that it happens, it exists in what it is.
Sometimes
but
it's just like some people have said, it's not cancel culture, it's just repercussions of what you've done.
could
Like,
be.
a person just has to deal with their actions, right? The fallout of their own actions.
Are human beings built to deal with 6 million people telling you suck
Tell us,
1
Sarimah.
second?
No.
I think that's too much. And that's why
Yeah.
we've got like a decline in mental health.
Mm.
I
And
think
that's why you do what you do. You're promoting it more
Yes.
now to let people know.
I think we're adept. We used to live in communities where we would get feedback from 10 people first,
Yeah.
and then 50 people, and then 100, and then whatnot and whatnot. It was a gradual feedback process. But now it's straight to the world.
Mm.
And I don't think we are able, like the size of our brain and who we are, to
Yeah.
cope with that much information that fast.
Right. It's crazy because so much has changed in such a short while. We've reached this point in our lifetimes,
Yeah.
and it feels like we progressed so far. If you could go back and give your younger self, who just started out in the industry, one brutally honest piece of advice, knowing how far you'd progressed to this point
Gosh.
and how the world changed, right? What would it be? How would you prepare her?
I'd probably tell myself that you're not really alone.
Oh.
Yeah. And to reach out and ask for help a bit earlier.
Oh.
Yeah. Because the fake it till you make it was really ruling my life,
Mm.
like 24/7.
Wow.
So even when I wasn't well, physically, mentally, emotionally, whatever it was, when there was health issues, when family members passed away, or I just faked it. So it was constantly like, I'd find out news of somebody being very sick or something terrible would happen, and I would just be like, what?
Right.
Without any substance abuse.
Right.
So I'm not saying like, well done, Sarimah, but it's not easy to do
Yeah.
that. So I'd probably tell myself to share a bit more and reach out to my friends and not think that I was burdening people.
That
That's
sounds like
probably why I'm championing mental health so much today and getting people to reach out. Yeah.
and I think they need to hear this. This is exactly why you do it, right?
Yeah. Don't be embarrassed.
Yeah.
Don't think that you have to put on the mask all the time.
Right. It's okay to be broken.
It's okay to be not okay in any
Yeah.
one moment, and nothing lasts forever.
Right.
Nothing, not even happiness.
Yeah. How do you define happiness? Like, no.
Happiness is like when you're sitting here now, and all of us are sitting here, and our minds are like here now. And we're not anxious about the future or sad about the past.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've given me so much to think about.
That's
Like, wow.
we're happy. Yeah.
Thank you
Because
for
happy
sharing.
is not what we imagine it to be like.
No, yeah.
That's not happy. I don't think we're ever really happy.
Yeah.
I think
Or in
happy is a
in what
concept.
we've perceived or
That's
what we're
happiness.
told happiness is.
I think
supposed-
there's only like contentment or like anxiety and sadness.
So contentment,
Sounds
being
very-
content is like being happy.
Yes.
Because you're in the moment
Yeah.
and you're in a good place.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us, because it's given me a lot to think, and I'm sure everyone is thinking as
Now
well
I'm
right now.
thinking too. Thanks,
Right.
Terry. So I'm gonna spend a whole day going, what was I talking about?
And we're going to make you think some more now, because it's time for the rapid fire questions.
Oh,
All right? Answer as quick as you can. Here we go. What's the best advice you've ever received, and who gave it to you?
no. Let them. Just let people be who they are and let them show you who you are, and don't be like, no, but you're much better than this.
Who gave it to you?
Mel Robbins,
Mel Robbins,
the
right.
writer.
If you could play any role in a movie, past or present, what would it be?
A psychological role, somebody who looks weak but is actually strong.
Ooh, sounds like some Glenn Close
Yeah.
role. Every Glenn Close role, maybe.
Yeah.
3 words that describe you as a mother.
Overachieving. Oh my God, that's 2 words. Overachieving, manja, too manja,
Oh.
needy. Needy, manja, overachieving. Great. Okay. There goes that.
Love it. What's your ultimate comfort food after a long day?
Crisps.
Oh, flavor?
Chips, sour cream.
And onion.
Yes. Stop.
If you could switch careers for a day, what would you do?
Director came to my mind.
Ooh.
Yo. Didn't know that.
Oh. What's one thing people would be surprised to know about you?
I'm an introvert. I don't like parties.
Oh, shocking.
I just shot myself there. No, I really am. I'm an extroverted introvert.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're okay. You've come to terms with that.
I like sitting at home eating crisps in my pajamas and watching binge watching TV shows and chilling with a blanket or just sitting by the beach listening to the waves and eating crisps.
And the crisps have to be salty.
Why are there crisps everywhere? Yeah. So yeah, that's probably something people no, it's not possible. And it's like, yes, it's very possible.
Right. Final question.
Oh God.
We ask this of everyone. If you had the opportunity to make one change as Prime Minister of Malaysia for a day, what would it be and why? So you're Prime Minister for a day.
There would be a class in Darjah Satu or Standard 1 called Psych Mental Health 101 for everybody.
From Standard 1.
And it would be mandatory for parents to attend too. And it would be in every class, and you couldn't pass school without passing it.
Right. And that's why you do what you do. That's why you're
so that
promoting mental health.
everybody would understand that, because we have PE class, so why don't we have ME, mental education or mental...
Right. So your first role as Prime Minister will become Education Minister. That's the first thing you do.
Watch out, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Cik
you.
Puan
Thank
Sarimah
you.
Ibrahim, for joining us
Terry.
and giving us so much to think about. We look forward to hearing more from you on your social media, which is where we can go to.
Yes, I'm
as
on
well.
Instagram, TikTok. I'm trying to get my head around TikTok. Get there. I started slow with the social media, so I'm getting there though. Yeah,
With the crisps on your side as you press the
crisps
button.
everywhere. Oh my God, I need them.
Thank you again for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.